She promised forever. You gave her your name, your time, your love, your life. You provided, you protected, you stayed loyal. Then one day, the woman you'd do anything for betrayed you. Emotionally, physically, spiritually. And when it happened, she watched you fall, cold, detached, like your pain didn't matter. And in that moment, something inside you died. But listen, that was not the end. That was your awakening. When a woman hurts you, you don't react. You don't beg, cry, or scream. You level up, lock the doors she walked through, and you show her something far more terrifying than anger. You show her what life without your love truly feels like. You've been broken, I know, but what I'm about to give you isn't just advice. It's the most powerful roadmap ever made for men who've been hurt. I'm putting together the Stoic relationship blueprint for men, not just to help you heal, but to help you dominate your mind, emotions, and future. Today's world has made men emotionally disposable, and it's costing us everything: our peace, our families, our purpose. Without this guide, you'll keep repeating the cycle of pain. Stay tuned for this life-changing ebook. Before we go further, comment, "I rise in silence," if you're ready to become the man no woman forgets, not because you chased her, but because you outgrew her. Number 1, she expects you to break. When she hurts you, when she betrays the vow, disrespects your sacrifice, or leaves you stranded in a home you built, what she expects is for you to emotionally implode. She knows your buttons, your soft spots, your guilt points. She knows how much you gave her, and she expects you to collapse under that weight. She expects you to beg for the version of her that no longer exists. She imagines you staring at your phone, overthinking every word she said, replaying the arguments, wondering what you did wrong, and hoping she'll come back. That's what she envisions. She thinks that because you loved her deeply, you will now hurt endlessly. But the real test is this: will you give her what she expects? Or will you confuse her completely by becoming the one thing she never planned for? A man who doesn't break, who doesn't crawl, and who rebuilds a fortress where he once had a home with her. Imagine this: your wife of 10 years, mother of your children, decides she's not happy. No explanation, just an emotional exit. She says she needs space, but you know what that really means. The man she's with now has none of your scars, none of your responsibilities. She trades your loyalty for the illusion of excitement, and she expects to return if it doesn't work out. She expects you to still be there, holding the door open emotionally, financially, spiritually. Because that's what you've always done. But what if you didn't? What if, while she chased emotional fantasies, you turned your pain into discipline? What if, while she found temporary affection, you found permanent purpose? Every man must face this storm, and the ones who survive do so not by shouting in the rain, but by becoming the storm itself. The man who wins is not the man who retaliates. It's the man who transforms. You need to decide right now. Will your pain define you or refine you? There is no middle ground. And yes, it hurts. Of course it does. You gave her your soul, and she broke it without flinching. But pain, in the hands of the right man, becomes power. When your kids ask where mom is, you don't break. You breathe. You focus. You remember that your job is not to chase her, it's to lead them. She walked away from the family. You don't follow, you rebuild. Do you know how many men rebuild silently? How many start their businesses at night after tucking their kids into bed alone? How many lift weights in garages turned gyms while their ex posts quotes about self-love next to a new man? These men are not broken. They are forged. These men don't post their pain. They build from it. And in that rebuilding, something powerful happens. She starts watching. Not because she wants to return, but because now she questions what she gave up. But by then, it's too late, because the man who used to need her validation now only needs his vision. If you're married and facing betrayal, you must understand. Your reaction writes the next chapter. If you have children, know this: your strength is their template for life. The way you carry this pain becomes the lesson they carry into their relationships. You must not just survive for you, you must rise for them. The man who responds to betrayal with stability, focus, and purpose becomes unforgettable. You confuse her by not reacting how she rehearsed. You disrupt her expectation of dominance. You step into a mindset where no woman's opinion outweighs your own direction. Stoicism says, if you are pained by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your own judgment of them. And it is in your power to wipe out that judgment now. So wipe it out. Replace the judgment with purpose. Replace her memory with momentum. Replace pain with precision. The world wants you weak, emotional, easy to control. She may expect that too. But you rise in power, rebuild with conviction, and refuse to hand over your peace for a piece of the past. When you walk like that, the world watches. She watches. But you never look back. Number 2, don't chase closure. She left you with questions, unanswered, unexplained, brutal in their simplicity. I'm not happy anymore. We've grown apart. It's not you, it's me. And you're left alone in a house filled with the echoes of what once was. Photos on walls that mean nothing now. A ring on your finger that weighs like a chain. Your mind races, trying to fill the void with answers, wondering if you could have done something different. And so begins the death spiral, chasing closure from a person who already emotionally checked out. But you must understand this. Closure is not given, it's taken. If she respected you, she wouldn't have disappeared without truth. If she loved you, she would have fought for the foundation you built, but she didn't. She chose to walk. And the moment she did, your job changed. It is no longer to understand her. It is to resurrect you. Asking her why does nothing but affirm to her that she still controls your mind. Calling to talk one last time only confirms that she still lives rent-free in your soul. But what if you didn't need her explanation to heal? What if, instead of asking her to close the chapter, you picked up the pen and started writing your new one? Think about it. Has closure ever truly come from the person who hurt you? Or has it always come in the quiet decisions you made to stop waiting for it? The man who heals isn't the one who gets the answers. It's the one who decides the answers no longer matter. And if you have children with this woman, understand that her decisions affect them, but your example will define them. Do not let your need for closure turn into venom that spills into your co-parenting. Let your actions become your legacy. Be present, be strong, be composed. Do not explain to your children why mom left. Show them what dad became. You are not in control of her choices, but you are entirely in control of your reaction. There are men right now who rebuilt empires after losing everything: marriages, homes, respect. And they did it not by chasing the woman who left, but by chasing the man they were always meant to be. You are not chasing her explanation. You are chasing your evolution. Replace every unanswered question with an action. She ghosted you. Go run 5 miles. She blocked you. Build your business. She's dating someone new. Redesign your life. You don't need her closure. You need your resurrection. And when that happens, she'll watch. Not because you asked her to, but because now she has questions. Why is he stronger? Why is he focused? Why does he no longer need me? But by then, your answers won't be for her. They'll be for the man in the mirror. And that's the only closure you'll ever need. Number 3, emotional control is king. When you've been broken by the one person who promised to protect your heart, It's easy to feel like you've lost everything, your peace, your purpose, your direction. But the truth is, what you've lost was an illusion, and what you gain next is something she will never be able to take from you: emotional dominance. That doesn't mean pretending not to feel. It means becoming the man whose emotions don't control his reality, because the man who is in charge of his emotional responses owns every interaction, every confrontation, and every future decision. You must understand, the game she plays, whether consciously or instinctively, is built on your emotional reaction. She will test your reactions through the most brutal avenues possible: false accusations, parental alienation, provocations in front of your children, strategic withdrawals of intimacy or empathy. And if she knows you'll spiral from those, she holds power. But what if you mastered the ability to feel everything and show nothing that compromises your position? That's not weakness. That's absolute internal sovereignty. Imagine standing in a family courtroom, being called everything but a good father, and instead of defending yourself like a wounded animal, you calmly present documented facts and evidence. No eye contact, no arguments, only logic. Imagine your ex trying to use your children to provoke a reaction, to bait you into yelling, and you respond with a calm, direct answer, focused only on what's best for the kids. She begins to see she no longer has emotional real estate in your psyche. Your children notice it too. They see their father not as broken, but as composed. You become the pillar of consistency in their world, and whether or not you have custody, they are drawn to your peace. Now imagine you're a man living alone after separation. Your children live with her. You don't get to wake them up, pack their lunches, or read them bedtime stories. That emptiness can become a breeding ground for self-destruction, or the furnace for your greatest transformation. This is when Stoic strength becomes your new standard. Your mission now is to become so mentally fortified that no woman, no insult, no court system, no emotional manipulation can pull you from your principles. This is where emotional control becomes your strongest weapon and your greatest shield. You wake up with purpose, not resentment. You train your body to match the stability of your mind. You use every emotional wave as resistance training. When you speak to her, whether about the kids or logistics, you're brief, respectful, and firm. You give nothing away that can be twisted. She may ask, "Why are you so cold now?" But what she's really asking is, "Why can't I reach you like I used to?" That's not indifference. That's mastery. The truth is, men who don't develop emotional control end up paying for it for years. In lost custody battles, in ruined reputations, in health, in finances. But those who do, they rise. They become leaders, not victims. They live lives of order, not chaos. They earn respect, not pity. Emotional control doesn't mean you suppress everything. It means you transmute it. Pain becomes productivity, sadness becomes strategy, rage becomes results. And no matter what the world throws at you, you remain unmoved. That is power. That is victory. That is peace. Number 4, remove her emotional supply. There's a difference between letting go of a woman and cutting off the fuel that gives her relevance in your life. Too many men believe that walking away physically is enough, but if she still has emotional access, through arguments, through text replies, through social media reactions, through jealous behavior, then she still owns a piece of your soul. And if she owns that piece, she owns your energy. Removing her emotional supply means becoming emotionally non-reactive in the most practical and grounded ways possible. It means taking control of what she gets from you, not just in conversation, but in emotional outcomes. Let's say you're a married man and your wife betrays your trust. You choose to stay, maybe for the kids, maybe for your own reasons. But now everything she does, Her passive aggressiveness, her emotional coldness, her attempts to trigger becomes a battlefield. If you react to every jab, you bleed out slowly, giving her more control over your emotional state than you realize. But what if you redefined the terms of engagement? What if you no longer gave her the drama she craves to justify her actions? You no longer raise your voice. You no longer chase explanations. You no longer try to prove you're worthy. You begin giving her exactly what she earned, respectful indifference. Not out of bitterness, but out of a deeper awareness. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Now consider the father who doesn't live with his children. Every time he calls to check on them, he's met with delay tactics. Every time he tries to co-parent, it becomes a circus. He still loves the mother of his kids somewhere deep down, or maybe just mourns the family he built, and that mourning is manipulated. The key? Shift the focus from her emotions to your influence. Stop making her the main character in your story. Stop giving her the privilege of your reactions. You see, many women thrive on knowing they can still cause a rise in you. It's validation, it's power, it's control. And as long as you give them the reaction, you validate that they matter more than they should. Now let's bring this into the real world. You don't answer every call. You don't reply to every bait text. You remove social media connection. You don't argue in front of the kids. You document everything. You speak with clarity. You remove all emotional tones in your voice. You use your energy only where it builds, not where it bleeds. She may accuse you of being cold. She may cry. She may test you. But understand this. When a woman loses emotional access to a man she used to control, she panics. She will use sympathy, then rage, then seduction. Do not give in. Your mission is bigger than her approval. Your mission is your evolution. Even if you still live under the same roof, or if you share parenting time, emotional supply is cut not by leaving the home, but by leaving the emotional loop. Every time she sees you unmoved by her games, every time you respond only to what matters, she's reminded that the version of you she knew is gone, and the man she once had a leash on is now untouchable. The man who becomes emotionally unavailable to the wrong woman becomes unshakable for the right mission. You owe her nothing but civility. You owe yourself everything: peace, purpose, and power. Cut the cord, end the loop, rise. Number 5. Build a life she can't enter. When everything collapses, when the relationship ends, when the house no longer feels like home, when you find yourself staring at old photos wondering how it all turned into this, the instinct for most men is to try to fix what's broken, to reason, to repair, to return to what once was. But that instinct is often what traps men in emotional paralysis, unable to grow, unable to rise, stuck in an identity that's no longer real. The truth is, once a woman chooses to step out of the emotional bond you built, whether through betrayal, abandonment, disrespect, or withdrawal, you have only one viable path. You build a life so powerful, so grounded, and so deeply aligned with your purpose that she would never recognize the man you're becoming. And you do it not for her. You do it because your identity has been neglected for too long. Start by reclaiming your time. If you're still living together in a cold house, walking past each other like strangers, that is the very soil from which your reinvention must grow. Wake earlier than her. Use those quiet hours not to scroll through what she's doing, but to build what you should be doing. Work on your fitness, not out of revenge, but because every push-up is a declaration that you're alive, present, and committed to yourself again. Build your body like a temple, not a weapon. If you're separated and raising children, build your routine like your life depends on it, because in every way that matters, it does. Your children will never remember how often you yelled back. They will remember whether their father built something better when everything else was falling apart. Build your wealth, not to impress, not to lure, but to insulate yourself from any dependency that weakens your freedom. Start the side business. Take the course. Work nights if you have to. Every dollar you make from your own grit is another brick in the fortress that she no longer belongs to. Build your vision. Write down what the next 5 years of your life look like without her at the center. Who are you? Where do you live? What do your mornings look like? Who do you serve? What legacy are you building? Now design your day in alignment with that vision. Slowly, you'll realize that what you lost was never security. It was distraction, and in its absence, you now have clarity. This rebuilding isn't about running away from her memory. It's about outgrowing every version of yourself that accepted less than you deserved. And when she does look back, because eventually she will, she won't recognize you. She'll hear about your name in rooms she never had access to. She'll see your image through the eyes of your children as they beam with pride over what their father has become. She may even want back in, but by then, the door won't just be closed. The building will have changed, the address unknown, the man unreachable. You'll be too far gone, in the best way possible, because you didn't just survive heartbreak. You used it to architect a reality she never believed you could build without her. Number 6. Rewrite the narrative without her. When a man loses the woman he built his world around, whether through betrayal, divorce, or slow emotional erosion, the first thing that shatters is not always the heart. It's the story, the identity, the image of the man he thought he was, intertwined with the roles he played: husband, protector, provider, lover, partner. And when she exits that story, she doesn't just take herself. She takes your reflection in that mirror. You're left asking, who am I now? But what if that question is not a death sentence, but a rebirth invitation? What if the collapse of the shared narrative is the doorway to finally writing one where you are the main character, not the sidekick in someone else's story arc? The rewrite begins the moment you stop explaining your worth to people who discounted your loyalty, the moment you stop measuring your masculinity by whether she still wants you. You begin the rewrite when you realize that your legacy isn't tied to her love. It's tied to your direction. Imagine this: you've separated, but you still see her every other weekend at drop-offs. There's tension, there's distance, but there's also choice. You choose how that interaction defines you. Do you let it haunt your nights, or do you use it as fuel for becoming the man your children will grow into? You don't fight for her approval anymore. You show up with your shoulders back, your mind sharp, your time protected. You no longer entertain old conversations. You're too focused on new construction. If you're still living under the same roof, even more reason to mentally shift. Rewrite the story by no longer orbiting her moods. You're not cold, you're focused. You're not passive, you're strategic. You're not angry, you're planning. You can be in the same room and still be in your own world, a world built on your purpose, not her preferences. Use her absence, physical or emotional, as proof that your story was always yours to write. When the kids come home from her place, let them find not a bitter man, but a builder. Not a victim, but a visionary. Speak truth into them, not poison. They don't need your rage, they need your leadership. Your rewrite becomes their blueprint. And when people ask, what happened? You don't retell the tragedy. You highlight the triumph. I'm building something new. That's all they need to know. When men begin to rewrite their narratives, they become dangerous in the best way. Not reckless, but disciplined. Not loud, but undeniable. Not cruel, but unavailable to the same cycles that once destroyed them. Your new story doesn't need her return to be meaningful. It doesn't need her recognition to be valid. It stands on its own, strong, grounded, and eternal. And the best part, this new story doesn't just heal you, it invites other men to start writing theirs. You become the proof, the map, the unshakable symbol that a man doesn't fall when love ends. He rises, reclaims, and rewrites completely. Number 7. Forgive but lock the door. There is a powerful lie that too many men believe, that forgiveness must come hand in hand with a second chance, that to truly move on, you must open the door again, let them in, talk it through, offer explanations, receive them back like nothing happened. But this belief has destroyed more men than it saved. Because forgiveness is not about reconciliation. Forgiveness is not about allowing someone back into your sacred space. Forgiveness is for you. It is the cleanest, most powerful act of self-liberation a man can choose. And the most powerful part, it can happen in total privacy, without a phone call, without a conversation, without closure. It begins when you decide that your peace is no longer for rent, not to her, not to the pain, not to the memories. And from that decision, you rise. Forgiveness is when you let go of needing her to admit she was wrong, to apologize, to feel the way you felt when she left you drowning in silence, betrayal, or indifference. You don't forgive because she deserves it. You forgive because you deserve to stop carrying it. You lock the door because the version of you who loved her without boundaries no longer exists. She may try to come back. They always do, when you've leveled up, when they see that the man they left didn't fall, but flourished. She might text late at night asking, "How are you?" or "Do you ever miss us?" That's not love. That's nostalgia mixed with curiosity. And if you're not vigilant, that curiosity becomes your downfall. But not this time. Because you've built walls that are not made of stone, but of standards. You've grown into a man who doesn't hate, doesn't chase, doesn't argue, not because he's weak, but because he knows the cost of inviting chaos back into his peace. Imagine this. You're months into your healing. You're stronger. You're consistent. Your children are watching you lead with calm and presence. Then she calls, crying, saying she's confused, saying maybe she made a mistake. You listen, not because you're weak, but because you're kind. But when she asks to meet up, to talk things through, you know. You remember the man you were when she left, broken, anxious, questioning your worth. And you remember the man you are now, focused, grounded, respected. You politely decline, not out of spite, out of honor, because your growth is not for her to consume again. If you're still living together and trying to heal, you must practice internal closure. You forgive her in the privacy of your mind. You stop punishing her, stop fighting for validation, stop trying to rewrite the past. You treat her with dignity, but no longer with access to your emotional core. She doesn't get to break you and still sleep soundly knowing you haven't moved on. And if you're co-parenting, the temptation will always be there to re-engage emotionally, to bond over the children, to let old sparks turn into new mistakes. But that's not love. That's unhealed trauma, looping in familiar territory. Set boundaries so clear, so firm, and so quietly powerful that she no longer wonders if she still has a key. She knows the door has changed. Stoic philosophy teaches us to distinguish between what we can control and what we cannot. And the emotions of another, the decisions they made, the betrayal they justified, are outside your control. But what you can control is this. You will not allow someone who broke your trust to re-enter without consequence. You will not explain your standards. You will not make space for someone who made you feel small in your own skin. Forgiveness means letting go of the resentment, but locking the door means never giving access to the wound again. The man who learns this becomes unshakable. He becomes a fortress with a beating heart. He becomes peace in human form. And from that place, he can love again, deeply, wisely, fearlessly, not because he's forgotten what was done to him, but because he remembers and still chooses to love smarter. You don't lock the door with bitterness. You lock it with resolve. And when you do, she will realize that the man who once gave everything with open hands now walks with a crown on his head and his hands in his pockets, not in pride, but in quiet authority. That is the man who wins, not the man who gets her back, but the man who got himself back. That's the final form. That's the true victory. That's what she can never touch again. If you've made it this far, you already know the truth. The world isn't kind to men who feel deeply, who love loyally, who fight silently. You're expected to provide without praise, endure without complaint, lead without falter, and when you're broken, no one notices, no one asks, and no one comes to save you. But your story doesn't end in pain. It begins with purpose. That's why I've created something that no one ever handed us. A weapon disguised as a guide, a path when you're lost, a voice when the world goes quiet. It's called the Stoic Relationship Blueprint for Men, and it's dropping very soon. This is not another collection of advice. It's a complete transformation tool, forged from Stoic principles that have stood the test of time, hard truths, and lived experiences. It's for the father who wakes up in an empty house on weekends, for the man sleeping next to someone who stopped seeing him, for the provider who sacrificed his dreams for a love that left anyway. It's for you, the man who's finally ready to stop hurting and start rising. Every page is packed with what no one ever told you. The power moves, the mindset shifts, the emotional battle plans, not fluff, just the absolute truth about becoming unbreakable in a world that keeps trying to crush you. If you want to rebuild your self-respect, lead your family from strength, protect your peace, and never again be manipulated by love that doesn't value you, this is your time. Comment Blueprint if you're serious about getting this life-changing ebook as soon as it launches. Support the mission. Like, share, and subscribe to this channel. It keeps this truth alive for men like you, and it helps us get this message into the hands of every man still drowning in the dark. We're not here just to talk. We're here to build a brotherhood of clarity, discipline, and absolute freedom.